Hi, and thanks for joining us again at Nomad PDU. Today we're just going to do a brief walkthrough, an out-of-the-box review of the Nomad PDU V5. A lot of people now coming into spring are taking the Nomads out of the storage, starting to get set up to go camping, and a lot of people are also purchasing the unit. So easy to forget if you don't use it. So we're going to run through out of the box and just run through the features it has, just to give you a basic understanding and how to use it, to make sure you use it correctly and get the most out of it. So we've taken one out of the box like so, and it comes out with these foam inserts on it. On the back of the box, you'll find there is a quick reference guide that you can refer to. And when you take it out of the box like this, we will get questions from people saying, how do you have to use it and store it in the vehicle? You can lie it down if you like. You can turn it on its side. You can have it upside down. It doesn't make any difference at all which way you have the unit. So when it comes out of the box, it comes like this with the foam. A lot of people leave these foam pieces on it so they can wrap a strap around it in the vehicle, and they'll actually sit there quite happily, and you've got a protection on it. We do have protective jackets, and we also have the brackets, the steel brackets that are stainless steel that you can fit them in the vehicle. These are universal, so very easy to fit, like you can see over there on the stand. And to take the foam off to start with, in the box, you also get an 8 amp AC/DC charger, like so. And you also get 3 pages of instructions. Now, you would have heard me harp on about instructions before. It's very important. It's not a VCR. It is something that you have to read instructions to understand it fully. But we're going to cover that off, a lot of that at the moment. So we're going to work from my right, your left, through on the Nomad, and just talk about its charging and then its outputs, etc. So let's work on these solar poles to start with. So what this is where you connect an unregulated solar panel. So up to 200 watt is pretty safe, and that's yours. That's going to allow more, probably less than 10 amp. So this is a maximum 10 amp rated MPPT inside, 8 to 32 volt, maximum 10 amp. So the onus is on you to read the back of the panel, but we know from experience that a 200 watt panel, which is what I use, without a regulator, you connect to this, you don't have to worry about it. So you can go and get yourself a fancy reg on your solar panel, make it regulated if you like, and that's great. And in fact, we'll talk about that in a second, but if you've got an unregulated panel lying around that's a cheapie, and the regulator is buggered, just throw the regulator away. You can use a reg in here, works fine. So that's your solar poles unregulated. Do not let an auto electrician though tell you that you can connect your vehicle to this. Because it has a regulator inside, don't assume you can connect anything to it in a regulator. That's not how it works. So this has a rating, as it's in the instructions, there's a maximum of 10 amp, unregulated. Now we move to the regulated port here. So the red circled area is your charging area. The red area there, which is the Anderson, that's where you plug your regulated charge. So your AC/DC charger like this is a regulated charge. And if you plug this into the red here, the unit should take on a charge, if I've got it plugged in properly, like so. The actual Anderson is a very, very tight fit. The unit itself is made of Q235 steel. It has powder coating on it and also anti-corrosive material. Gives it this smooth sort of finish. So it's going to last, probably outlast all of us. So you plug it in here, the red light comes on, it's charging. And it's probably charging around about 7 or 8 amp at the moment because the unit's probably half full. As the unit gets close to empty, it's going to draw as much current as it can down. You've got to remember, as the unit gets full, the closer it gets to full, it might take the last 3 or 4 volts might take 5 or 6 hours because it's going to charge at a slower rate. Now, one of the things we'll cover off at this point is that where people get confused and where most of our questions come from is they go, great, I'm going to whack everything onto it and start playing with things. That's great. So what will happen is you'll plug a fridge in. The fridge will start up and you might have an 8 litre fridge. It might draw 7 or 8 amp to start with and you've got the unit on charge. I will say you can charge the unit, no problems. You can charge it while you're running things on it, okay? But what people will ring up and they'll say, it stopped charging now when the fridge plugs in. The fact is this is charging at say 7 amp at the moment. If you plug the fridge in and it draws 8, there's more going out than coming in. And that's the rule you just got to remember. So on here, you've got the screens. And when we turn the unit on, it gives you the LED here, which is your load going out that's on the unit. And then you've got your voltage screen over here. So it will tell you if it's charging. And then if you plug in something and this is only putting in 2 amp, your fridge is going to cut in and out with the thermostat. And this light will go on and off. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to. If you are concerned, you think it's not charging, the fact is all you need to do is take the load off and then plug a charger in. If the red light's coming on, it's charging. Very, very simple. The other thing is you will see in the stores where our Nomads are, you'll find these power analyzers. These are a great tool. Should get one with every Nomad because these allow you to test what power is coming from a source. I've got to make sure I plug it the right way. So this will tell me exactly how much voltage that this is putting out, and it's saying it's 12.6. So the unit themselves, when you turn them on, don't be concerned about the voltage, but 12.6 is fully charged. There's 3 series of 4.2 inside, which makes 12.6. The BMS inside, the software that looks after the unit, it will cut out when one of the series hits 4.25. So it'll shut down, say 12.6. So fully charged is 12.4 to 12.7 on screen. This charges 8.8 or just under 9 volt. So that's the range you have there. And again, we cover this off in other tutorials, but do not ever jump start from one of these units. It's not designed to do that. We still get people ringing up and ask, how can I make an adapter so they can jump start the vehicle? Absolutely, number one, don't do it at all. So we've just covered the charging point. That's where you put your regulated charge in, and that's what your load is coming out. That tells you how much is drawing from the unit. You can see over on this unit here, it's drawing about 0.8, 0.9, and that's running one of the light strips I've got sitting up there, which is another one of our accessories that we have, and that's pulling just over an amp. So you can see what's coming out. And then you've just got to remember that what you're charging, is there more going in or going out? If there's more coming out than going in, that light will go off. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Very, very common question that we get. So that's charging. So that's your regulated charge port. I can actually leave this on if I wanted to and plug it in there. So that's your charge ports there, circled in red. Your outputs are all in green. Now the outputs are specifically outputs. The sticker sockets are all 10, Angle's a 10 amp output over here, and then you've got a dual USB over here. You can see a little tag I've got sitting on here. That's an output there. It's just here, just to, if you get too excited and you want to start charging from them. Here, this is an output only. Again, it's noticed in green is output only, and also says on here, do not charge from this port. Designed for outputs only. So just follow the instructions again. It's very, very clear. So 20 amp is the maximum output at any given time from the Nomad. So you can plug in 10 here and 10 here and have both running. That's fine, and you can see how much is coming out. All you need to do is look at the screen and say, well, as long as it's under 20, I'm okay. And these are all rated 10 amp. This Anderson is rated 20 amps. So you can plug in an Anderson here with a Y lead, which is very common. I do it, and run 2 fridges off it. Quite happily run 200-litre fridges, no problems at all. Running from the one port. I've got these free, and if I want to plug some lights and things like that in, that are drawing a couple of amp, then I can do. So that's your Anderson output there, maximum 20. Each of these 10 amp outputs. The maximum that the unit can provide is 10 amp at any given time on the total unit. On the left hand side here, you got these 2.1 jacks. These are quite useful, and people don't use them as much as they should. You can get these little jacks from like a J-Car or any of the electronic stores and things like that, a couple of dollars each, and that allows you to put a red and black cable into there and then plug it in. So you could run 4 or 5 of these strip lights that I've got here on one of these little jacks, because they're rated at 5 amp each. So you can plug them in there and run all your lights on campsite, and then you've got all the other stuff here free. And that's what these are really, really good for. So that's your inputs, circled in red, outputs, circled in green. Voltage screen, it's an indicator, it's like a fuel gauge. When it's completely full, it still takes a while for it to drop off. So don't look at the green bars and things like that. Just go off the numbers, and that will be more accurate and tell you exactly what voltage is in the unit. So when you're charging the unit in the vehicle, the only way to charge from a vehicle is to use one of the DC-DC options. Do not, again, let an auto electrician tell you can connect it directly to this or directly to the Anderson, because they might say, well, it's regulated from the vehicle. Unfortunately, from the car, your car can produce something like 80 amp, you know, when it's running. And if you put it into here, this is a maximum of 25 amp. What I will say is, if you've got a DC-DC charger of your own and it's at 25 amp, remember, this is not an estimation. It's 25 amp or less. A lot of 25 amp chargers charge at around 27 amp, which means it's going to overcharge it. This will protect itself, but if you keep overcharging, then it's going to eventually destroy the BMS. Okay, the onus is on you. Follow the instructions and look at the load, and look at obviously what you're charging at. So just be aware of that. It's a specific number. The same as 10 amp means 10 amp. It doesn't mean 15 or thereabouts. It's not a buffer in there built in that you can just play around with. So just again, read the instructions, are very, very clear. And on some of our tutorials, you'll see overcharging and dead short reset. Dead shorts are quite common with people wiring their own accessories. Plug it in, it does a dead short. Dead short's simple. Just take the load off, plug the power source into the unit, it'll fire it back up. So it's got its own protection in there. But if you go to YouTube and go to Nomad PDU overcharging, Nomad PDU dead short, reset, it's all there and it shows you how to do it. If you go to our website, nomadpdu.com.au, you'll also find it on there. And the other thing I'll say is our instructions for the unit are on the website. So if you're going to borrow this to somebody, and this is the most common, I guess, error, is people borrow the unit to a friend. Their friend just makes a guesstimate as to how they use it, have no idea what to charge it at. They'll take the DC-DC charger in the car that they're charging at 50 amp, things like that, plug it straight in here. They'll have a load on it, so running a fridge. So what will happen is it'll overcharge, it'll cut out. And because it's got a draw of more than an amp, it'll reset. And then it'll overcharge again, it'll reset. It'll keep doing it, and it'll probably last a half an hour, and eventually the BMS will just be dead, and it would not take on a charge at all, and the BMS will have to be changed. That's the most common thing that happens when people get borrowing these units, is they just give it to them without instructions. So if you borrow it to a friend, tell them to go on the website if you haven't got the instructions and look at the instructions. The V4, which is the earlier version, a lot of our clients have both. They have this without the colors, and that has a maximum of 10 amp output at any given time and a maximum of 10 amp charge from the MPPT and also the Anderson. So the difference with this is maximum 25 amp input from the regulated, and maximum output at any given time is 20, so it's twice the V4. So you've got to remember when you're using both that the charge rate are different. The V4 is half. And again, I'll just touch on that because a lot of people have V4s and they've still been around for 3, 4, 5 years and are still using them. So if you use them correctly, they should last a very, very long time. So the DC-DC charging option you've seen the Sticker DCs more than likely before. And this is a Sticker DC 5 amp and also 10 amps they come in. Again, we don't want you to push the sticker socket in your vehicle to its limits. If you've got a 10 amp sticker socket in the vehicle, which is most normal cars and a lot of four-wheel drives, then use a 5 amp. And then you're not putting a 100% load on that sticker plug. And if you've got a Ranger or one of those vehicles with a 20 amp sticker socket, then you can use a 10 amp one of these. They look the same, but they're fused at this end accordingly for that. So these are rated at 300C as well. So that's a Sticker DC. That's the simplest way to do it. Pick it up, grab it and go. Or you can get a Anderson to Anderson style as well. And we did these because a lot of people have their dual cabling already set up into the back of the vehicle, and they've got an Anderson sitting there. So you can plug one of these in and go, okay, that's to my car. And it's got a little sticker on saying to the car, and it'll say that goes to Nomad. It's all double fused. This one here is a 20 amp one. They come in 10s and 20s. Plug it straight into the car, plug it straight into the Nomad regulated input. Again, this is regulated because that's a charger. It's a DC-DC or voltage stabilizer, if you want to call it that. And then that's the 10s and 20. And then you have a full dual as well option where we have all the cabling provided, the DC 10s and 20s, all the cabling and fusing, etc. provided. The only thing it doesn't have is a VSR. A VSR simply is a voltage sensitive relay, and what it does between your crank battery, your alternator, etc., it will not allow any current going through to the back of the vehicle when the car's off. So if you plug this in directly to your crank battery and your car's off, and you've got one of these DCs, it's going to keep on drawing from the crank battery when the car's off. But if you put a VSR in, it won't. So look at a VSR, and a lot of vehicles, 4 drives will have them already. And then if it's going to the back of the vehicle, you can look at, are you going to use it like I do? One of my cars, I don't have a VSR, and I'm quite happy to use it directly from a DC like so, because when I get to camp, I'm going to pull it out anyway because I never leave it in the vehicle. I just take it to my campsite when I'm using one of these. So 11 kilograms is what these do weigh. And then you've got the AC/DC charger inside. These chargers, I will make a point to say that, look, if they do have a fail in them, then what will happen is they might get dropped, which is quite common, and they'll only charge to, say, 12 volt or 11.8 or something like that. It's not the actual unit. If you want to test whether it's a unit, all you need to do is put a solar panel on it or another charge source, and you'll see that it'll come up to 12.6. Or if you've got a DC from the vehicle and it charges fully, but it won't charge from the AC/DC, more than likely you've got a fault in the charger. So these analyzers will tell you exactly what the voltage is coming out. So I know this one here, 12.6, working perfectly. I know if it was faulty, it might say 11.7 on here. Now I know that it won't charge us at 12.6 because it says 11.7. So that's why these are really, really good. Same as these little pocket inverters. Again, all those accessories are available from our partners. So charging the Nomad unregulated in the red area there, by unregulated, it's the solar poles, 10 amp maximum, 25 amp maximum on the regulated. So that's anything with a solar panel that has a regulator on it, or any of the DC-DC charging options that you have. Outputs, again, 10 on each of those except the Anderson. The Anderson is a 20 amp output. The maximum output at any given time is 20 amp. You can lie them down, put them on the side, flat, upside down, doesn't matter. The dual USB. You can have these switching off like this. This is still going to let power go out. And one of the switches is for the screen. Most people just leave them both on anyway. no real advantage by turning one off and one on. So that's the Nomad itself and the simple version of how to use it, and also about charging. What I will say about charging as well, because it's portable, with any battery, you'll see on any battery charge, it always says never charge batteries unattended or leave them unattended. Likewise, don't run cables into your vehicle. We've just seen me touch on this before. Don't run cables into your vehicle and run double adapters in the car and have multiple things running and charging at the same time in the vehicle. Double adapters have been banned in most cases in many environments, especially workplaces, because they are a risk. So don't be running cabling into 240 cabling into your car and then have multiple connections running things in your vehicle. It's not the safest thing to be doing. So always be charging this. I'd suggest be outside the vehicle. Charge it up before you go, and then when it's in the car, obviously you can charge it by any of the DC options while you're there, and that's no problems at all. So again, if you've got any questions, contact at nomadpdu.com.au. Also look in the next couple of weeks at some of the reviews done by some of our partners that are going to be taking these out and road testing them in their environment and giving them a bit of a hard time, and we'll make you aware of those if you keep an eye on our channel on YouTube or nomadpdu.com.au. We'll make you aware of that up and coming. But if you do have any questions, we'd rather you ask questions before you start doing things. Again, if you're going to borrow one of the units to your friend, you don't want to get the unit back when it's not working, and that is quite common. So make sure that they understand how to use it very basically, or send them to our website before they take a unit off you, so they have a basic understanding as to what they can do and what they shouldn't do. Red area is charging, green area is for running your accessories on. Again, if you just follow the screen here and for your loads, you're not going to exceed the 20 amp and you'll be fine. It is quite straightforward if you just take your time and read through the instructions. Spend the half an hour on it, read it, get it right, and then you won't have a problem. So again, thanks for joining us at Nomad PDU, and I'm sure we'll have another shoot very shortly. So thanks again.